I just think you got to beat up on the teams you should beat up on. So they did that last night. Mikolas was good. I would have, Matty, I'm a rights holder, so I don't criticize ever, the Cardinals. That's what I'm accused of. I didn't like the Packy bullpen game the other day because I just felt like you could have rolled over the rotation. I get it. You take a day of rest for these guys when you can because in the big picture that may benefit you. But I just had a bad feeling if the offense wasn't there and, they give up a few runs early, and that's kind of how it played out. So I was glad to see Mikolas get the start last night. I mean, he's been money. He was money last night. And the bats came alive. Donovan had a big night. Yepes gets another homer. Mm-hmm. That's the way you should handle the Orioles, who are not a good team. They do have young talent, and they're better, I think, like people just remember how horrific they've been. They're actually a little better. Some of the young guys are getting traction, but you should beat these teams.
They're starting to get some of the dividends that came back from being so bad for so long, so they've got talent, and but it's just not enough, especially out in the AL East. But I agree about the Tuesday night game because, I mean, they came out, they jumped on them early. It's one of those games where you felt like if you had maybe another inning or two, maybe you catch up, but they weren't able to do it. So, yeah, I agree completely. You got to get the wins that are hanging out there for you, especially when you've got San Francisco, who's a wild card coming up. You got the Mets that are coming up. But then you got the Pirates on the other side of that. You string together a couple things there.
It's good to see that the Pirates are awful again because there was a time, 5-6 years ago where they were making a move. Actually, what they did was they kind of cut their own legs off because they made bad moves, but they were more competitive. I like it when I always say this, that the Pirates should be sort of like the convenience store of the NL Central. Like you pop into Pittsburgh, you take 2 out of 3, you grab a burrito, pop in the microwave, and then you get out of town.
The Reds are standing on the corner big time right now.
My goodness.
And taking that out for them.
What are they?
They won 2 games in a row the other day, and it was like D-Day happened again. Like we've done it, guys.
They're on pace for 126 losses.
Long summer. That's a long summer.
And like you feel bad for the fan base. Like Pittsburgh has an awesome stadium.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like one of the best.
Yep.
And the fans are good. Cincinnati, I feel bad for the fans, but when the ownership tells the fans where else you're going to go, you don't feel sorry for that franchise.
Yeah, and that's that's kind of the case too. I mean, I can remember when this Orioles team that's in town, they were packing out Camden back in the day when, Cal Ripken, Messina, all those guys. I mean, they were pulling people into that thing. But they've been so bad for so long. The Orioles are one of those teams that, when you look at the problems with baseball, about why I think there could have been more that could have been done to bring people to the middle to have to compete.
Yeah, like put a basement in.
They put a floor on there.
Yeah.
You can't go further than this. You got to compete. You got to do it because the talent's there. But I've seen nothing that tells me that I look at this team. This is a shopping team, I call it. I look at it and say, oh, that guy might be nice. Oh, It might be nice to get that guy. That's all right. Let's see when he comes up in a couple of years. Because Cedric Mullins, great player, fantastic player, 30-30 guy last year.
Yep.
You look at Mountcastle. You look at Trey Mancini, who's a guy that name got kicked around a little bit when you're trying to think about DHs now. But stop these feeder teams in Major League Baseball. That's the minor leagues. We got that figured out. Don't do it up here. But with that being said, you got to beat those teams. And I loved what I saw from Miles Mikolas last night. I liked some of his comments at the end of the game. He talked about some of the approach he's taken, some of the difference he's gotten back in his curveball. And you see it out there. And you don't really want to feel like you got to have a stopper in a midweek game against the Orioles, but at least he stopped a skid that could have come up there.
He can move pitches around in the zone as well as any pitcher in baseball when he's healthy. Mm-hmm. And it's good to see him healthy. Plus, he can bring the fastball and spot it. He's every bit as good. People say the Miles Mikolas from 2018 when he won 18 games. Right now, to me, he looks even a little better than that.
I think he can be. The big wild card with him is staying out there. We just got to hope that he stays out there, that the health sticks on his side. But you need outings like that because the thing that I looked at the other day, and I realized I was right, this team, for the numbers they've got, I wondered why the Brewers are still in front of them. Because they feel better than the rest of the teams in the NL Central. But they've only won 3 games in a row once this year. And you gotta lock in. And series like this, it should be an instant 3-game winning streak. Right. And then you get back to competing with the people that are closer to your level. So hopefully they can get that started today. It'd be nice to at least get another, give yourself a chance going into this weekend.
How's our boy doing? The big boy, Big Ty.
And he's not doing great. And his swing looks, like I think he'll get it. Because I just think, first off, he's a superior athlete. He could be the fastest guy on the team, Gold Glover. Yep. And the thing that his bat speed might be as good as anyone on the team, okay? But he's in a bad stretch right now where you can watch his at-bats. It's almost like he's not loading his swing. He's staying flat-footed just to make contact. And he got blown away by fastballs the other night, which I never saw that.
That means you're in your head when that starts happening because he's definitely got the speed to get there and do it. I saw that Ali Marmol, who I think's been really good this year about trying to keep his eyes on these younger guys, especially some of the guys that had breakouts last year and trying to, if they get into a little bit of a rut, get them where they need to get. I saw that he made some comments about saying that, he wants to get them as at-bats, but he's keeping an eye on them, basically. But then on the other side of that, you hear, and you're going to love this quote, Cam, Tyler O'Neill kicks in and says, I'm not a rest guy. I got a lot of energy. I'm lively.
Yeah.
I'm young. I need to get my work in.
Yeah, baby.
But
he's a good old Canadian boy.
On the other side of that, though, Ali Marmol has got to balance that, though, and saying, listen, I got a guy like Juan Yepes that is swinging that I got to figure out a way to get at bats for. Man. You got to get Dylan Carlson going, too, but you got to figure out how to get O'Neill going. There's a lot of talent, and sometimes that's a challenge to figure out how to keep everybody moving at one time.
And if you got O'Neill and Carlson back-to-back, and they're Carlson's better. His average is up to 23. I mean, he was at 190 or something. So he's getting incrementally better. His at-bats look better.
Sure.
But if you got two guys who are scuffling back-to-back in your lineup, you can't have that. So you got to figure out a way to try to get these guys going or get someone else in there so you don't have dead spots in a lineup that should be producing much better than it is. And I think it will. I
100%
I think
agree.
Dylan Carlson is going to be I think he's going to be a Gold Glover defensively. I think he's going to be a really productive offensive player. And I think Tyler O'Neill will get it. But, we just saw it with Paul DeYoung. They were trying the same thing, give him a little space, give him a rest, run some other guys out there, try to get him going. And now they the best solution that they came up with is get him away from everyone.
Regroup.
With all the people in his ear, just let him kind of clear his head. No one, he's not looking over his shoulder. You're there to work.
Less pressure.
And get your swing back. But it's weird because you had basically three guys on your roster for a while who have been productive, scuffling like that.
Sir Nathaniel.
When you look at O'Neill's splits, he's batting 143 when the bases are empty. That's an 8 for 56 clip. And when runners are on, he's 12 for 45, and he's hitting 364 with runners in scoring position. I think the story there is that when nobody's on base, they can pitch Tyler O'Neill like they want to. And they can throw him the kitchen sink, and he's going to chase, and he's going to try to do things that are not that don't suit his interests. When runners are on, they have to throw him strikes. And when they throw him strikes and he can be selective about pitch, he can hammer the ball. And I think that's the key. And that's why he was so successful last year, because they put him in between Arenado and Goldschmidt. And boom, the guy was seeing fastball. But when nobody's on base and you got a lineup with three guys in it that aren't getting on, batting under 200, that makes life difficult for Tyler O'Neill. You're not setting him up for success.
Go ahead, Matty. Finish.
Well, the thing I want to ask is that, obviously this year being different because of the lockout spilling over and reorganizing everything, he just got his arbitration case finished up yesterday. So Cardinals came out ahead of that on that side. He was looking for 4-1. They settled out at 3-4, which is what the Cardinals went to. How much is that in your head? I don't want to make excuses for anybody, things like that. When you're dealing with that and you're having to work with that on the side,
especially when he loses it, the arbitration. So look, I've never been through it, but I've had guys, man, and they've told me, Scotty Gomez especially, he's like, dude, it's the worst damn thing in the world. Especially when you lose a part of it, like they're bashing you. Right. Yeah, the lawyers, they're bashing you. And
your own team is bad. Like,
yes.
Michael Wacha had the greatest quote when he had arbitration. So he said, someone asked him about it, he said, man, they tell you it's not personal. And then you get in there, and it's personal.
Yeah, it's business.
But so I asked, Tyler O'Neill is a beauty because he's some ways like a hockey player, and he's old school. I said to him, hey, I know you had your arbitration. Is there anything you could say? He said, Jim, no disrespect, but I'm not at liberty to discuss it now. He said it like, I love him.
He's awesome.
But I think he's old school enough where he can get that out of his mind. And here's the thing, too. Like, some people say Harrison Bader's cocky. I don't believe he is. I just think he loves the flair. You know,
he does,
like,
man.
and he loves energize. Like people were killing him on Twitter for the current call. I was like, why is that a bad thing?
No.
Like the crowd was dead.
I get you.
And all of a sudden the stadium's erupting.
100%.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing, but he does crave it. He does crave attention. And even if you look at the dugout when he was doing it, the guys are kind of like looking at. I know I'm reaching on that, but I could see where guys think he is too flashy. But if you get the damn crowd going,
the guys like him.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it's not like
All
they
right.
don't. Cause some guys are me guys. You could always see that. I don't think I think they're entertained by him. I think Yes, I think he does like the flair and the attention.
Didn't we
and
all?
I think guys get a kick out of that.
Yeah.
And they recognize it, but I don't.
But there's
with
a balance, Jimmy, to it, too.
But with Tyler O'Neill, I just think he's just supremely confident, right? So when he says things like, yeah, I don't want to rest, like I'll figure this out, to me it's not arrogance. He just really, because he's not an ego guy.
If you spend any time with him, you know that's just who he is. He
Right.
puts his work in. You
Yeah.
can look at him until he puts his work in, and then you talk to him, and that quote, you hear that. You
Yeah.
just that's exactly who he is. So I that's why I look at that and I say I believe in it. Nate, I think that the stat that you bring up is really good about saying about the situation and what that looks like too. Because last year, no men on, he hits 300. First pitch last year, he hit over 400. Maybe sometimes when you're in a rut like that, what you're trying to do is you're so deep in your head, you're trying to figure it out. You're giving guys a chance to pitch you differently. Maybe he just goes up there and just says, "Hey, I'm gonna go for it. Just let it rip. and
Go
be
for
who
it,
you are."
baby.
So because he has an interesting approach. Because they always go, well, let's look at video and break down your swing. And he said that's fine. He goes, but I'm a feel guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he said it doesn't really help me to look at my own swing. I know what I'm doing wrong
I
by
get that.
feel.
I get that.
And he said, and I just have to feel my way through it. Which he said I know isn't the answer everyone wants, but that's the way it is.
I get what he's saying.
And here's the
Yeah.
other thing too. Like he's the first guy to say, well, like when about his Gold Glove, he's like, well, I only have to cover a little slice of the outfield because Bader covers so much. Like he is really genuinely a team guy.
Yeah.
But he's just confident in his own abilities, and that's not cockiness, in my opinion.
Let's get to the text line real quick. I got some questions for Jimmy because Jimmy's got to get going because he's got work to do.
He's the hardest working man in St. Louis.
And then he's going to get back and he's going to go to baseball practice tonight. It's an all-day thing. And he's been here
That's
for 2
fine.
hours, by the way. No, but that's what you
people,
do.
People, our first responders put their lives up.
Damn right. No,
Put
I
their
get you.
They go to work and they
Mhm.
could, they could get hurt or killed. I'm
You do
going to
work
be
hard.
fine.
You do work hard, and I always got to throw that.
But
to
I want people to know when I run out of here, it's not because I got to be there.
Here's some
Gotta
good
gather
ones.
some stuff.
Here's some good ones. First, Rob double chimes and goes, Bader's almost as flashy as a retired hockey player banging a gong and flexing. That's true. Who am I kidding? I crave attention like no other. I don't care if any player is cocky or has flair to their game, as long as they play hard. Bader plays hard 24/7. Damn right he does.
I like that.
Oh,
I'm going to give him the ring.
Give him
for
a
that.
ring on that. You might win a prize if we had any.
I mean, that guy lays it out there all the time.
Here's another one from Geno's in one today, by the way. Nate could have just said flight discipline. Still needs work for O'Neill and save 5 minutes of him blabbering. Then he chimes back and goes, I mean plate discipline. See, you ruin your own chirp.
Who said
Then
that?
Gino. Then he goes, my phone understands me as well as my wife when I talk to her. You can't chirp and screw up typing it. It just doesn't work.
Secondly, he made what may have been the best point of the show. Nate did.
When I
like,
call
you
him
don't
Sir
chirp
Nathaniel,
that.
he's Batman. The
And look at-
sign comes up.
Look, Nate's face is incredulous. Like
Look at
now,
him.
why is he coming after me? Yeah, your take was a good take.
Gino comes up.
Gino,
Get him then.
Shut the hell up.
Uh-oh.
I've become more
We
and
like
more
his
of a
son,
Nate
though.
fan as we move
We
forward.
like his
with
son,
it.
though.
I had
He
a
still could
teacher
get
who
us all
once
fired.
told me, hey, Nate, why don't you go play in traffic for a little while? Hey,
Oh.
Gino, why don't you step outside and just start jaywalking, son?
He's on his boat.
Nate's war today is off the charts.
Wait, a teacher told you to go walk out in traffic?
Yeah,
That's kind of
Dan-
rude.
Dan Karcher at Chaminade. Hey, Nate, why don't you go play in traffic for a little while?
Jeez, like, whoa. You mean like commit suicide? Is that what
Big
you're
old
saying, teacher?
buck teeth,
Does
a
he not
pot belly.
like Nate because of his political views? Is that what it is?
No, Gino's pretty.
All right. Then
pretty
what's his
conservative.
beef? The
He
guy just
chirps
made
me.
a decent point.
Gino's actually a really good guy away from the text line. He's a great
American.
He's a great American, and
Yeah.
his son is a straight up badass special forces. That's
On
the
the
only reason why I like Gino.
on the Cam Jansen American flag scale, he's high up there.
He's high up
He's going to
there.
get a few of them.
He's American through and through, baby. Let's see here, Jimmy. Why don't we? No, there's a couple more down here that I passed up here. Kat, Scooter chimes in. Hey, Cat, when are we cutting the bait with Dickerson? A dude looks terrible.
Well, that's fair, but I'll be honest too. Like the Cardinals recognize he hasn't been getting many at bats either, so it's hard to straighten yourself out. So it's and they're paying him a little cash too, so it's not like they're gonna just forget about that. But I think he's in a tough spot. I think he would have liked to have started the season better. If you were hitting, we'd see more of him. But he also needs some at bats to try to straighten it out. You don't just flip a switch.
Here's another one for you. What's going on with Jake Woodford? Thoughts that thought he did pretty well last season, watching here and there, so maybe not up to the latest. Thank you.
I like him. And I think sometimes I wonder why he's not more prevalent. Now he's a great safety net because you're going to need 3-4 innings. He's going to give it to you. So I think you want to keep that safe. But I think he's a guy who deserves more opportunities.
So Jordan Hicks is getting the start today.
Yeah.
Continuing that going on. Coming into the year, that was what I thought was Woodford's spot. So when we decided to go forward and put Hicks into that area, I was like, that's interesting. I can see the upside of what you got there, but I think Woodford's a guy that's kind of getting stuck into that 4A spot right now where it's 6 starter if you need it. But the worst part about that is that you'll go long runs without getting any work.
And then all of a
you
sudden,
don't need that.
It's up to you now. It's tough. But
So why does Packy Naughton get the start?
Randy Naughton,
I
she's
didn't get it.
retired. Randy, Mary
But
Elkers.
Here's the thing with Hicks. So I'm a believer now. So Hicks always did want to start. This is something they talked about before anyone knew it. It's not breaking news, as a way to keep him healthier. Now, to me, I always thought maybe that's overblown. Like, if you can manage a guy out of the bullpen, right?
Yeah.
So what? And I liked the stuff he had at the back end of games.
Yes.
He showed what he can be. Why are we doing that? But the more and more I talk to people, clearly they believe that this is better for him, keeping him healthier long term. So I'm on board with it. And what you've seen is slow and steady development, and he's using other pitches, and I'm on board with it.
No, and again, I don't dislike it for
Yeah,
Hicks.
I
I've gone
understand
the
your
back,
point.
and I think that you get an opportunity to manage it a lot better, especially big investment. You want to make sure you're getting what you got there. It's just that sometimes you've got too many guys for the spot you got, and that's a good thing to have.
Well, Bader's taking a beating on a text. Go ahead, sir, Nathaniel.
So are we just acknowledging then that Jordan Hicks is like a Yadro? I mean, are we going to have to wrap him in bubble wrap every time? I mean, when do the training wheels come off Jordan Hicks, and when do we tell a starter that if he wants to start, probably you need to go at least 5 innings, and if you really want to learn to start, maybe do it in the minor leagues.
Okay, first, I don't know anyone in the minor leagues has stuff like Jordan Hicks, right? So
I agree.
This isn't a charity program. I mean, his stuff is nasty. You had a shortened spring training that he had nothing to do with. He is coming back from injury. So you want to be careful because you know what he is? He's a commodity. He has stuff that no one else has.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, but I disagree totally because this is a guy who has unbelievable stuff. It's not like we're going to help him along. They think he can help now. So based on the fact that it's a short spring training, they wanted to utilize what they could up here under their watch with their eyes on him. And I think he's making that progress. Don't you? He's going deeper.
He went 4 1/3 in his last start. I mean, he's gradually increased just about every start, but he has walks in all 6 of his starts. I mean, Cardinals are 3-3
I'm not
in
saying
games
his
that he
performance
starts.
is perfect. I'm saying you're seeing them stretch him out like the plan was. And I think once he gets used to this, he's going to be good.
I just find it a little hypocritical that in the Thursday game in which last week they played the Giants and they had to, waste their bullpen, and Ollie, after the game, is asked about it, and he's like, it's great going into a 4-game series. We just blew their bullpen out. And then we know every 5th day we're going to go through the same process. Wow. And yet there's where's the disconnect
different
there?
when you're using 9 pitchers. It's a little, there's a difference between using 9 pitchers and a guy who could potentially go 5. We had to do that with the Wade LeBlancs and everything. He's going to give you 5 and then get to the bullpen.
5.
There's a difference between that and 9.
He's gone 2, 2, 3, 2, 3 1/3, and 4 1/3. So he's not even close to 5.
The bastard chimes in. I agree with
We'll see what
Nate.
he
Call
goes-
out the rights holder.
We'll see what he goes. We'll see what he goes today. That's
Let's
the
see.
goal. Is that he'll give you 5 innings.
Overall, if you had to grade starting Jordan Hicks so far, I'm going to give it like a C-.
I'd give it incomplete.
I'll take a C- from a fifth starter.
I want
though.
that incomplete.
But that's what is that the maximum? I mean,
No,
to
I
me,
think-
you're wasting the talent of Jordan Hicks. Like I don't know.
Here's the thing. I think that with this situation, this is one of the things that would have benefited us actually having spring training. We could have worked through this and had it,
Right,
but now they got to figure out a way to do
That's
it.
my point, is
And-
that it wasn't a real spring training. And here's the thing, like, I'll give them an incomplete because they knew what it was going to take, and they made the decision. He can, in that, it's not like he's their top starter. He can get there and really help us. This is about keeping an asset healthy and in a position where they think he can best help the team. So I get what you're saying, but I don't know if, going down to the minors would be the answer. They're trying to work their way through it now based on the fact that they didn't have a real spring training. And I think a lot of pitchers, like I think Dakota Hudson could have benefited from a longer spring training. They're just trying to get this guy through to a place where he can be that guy. And if it progresses where he goes 5 or 6 and gives you some Jordan Hicks moments, like Matt said, for a fourth starter, that's pretty good.
And the last thing I'll say about it is to bring both sides together. At the very least, what I would like to see is for Jake Woodford to know he's going to come on the back end of where Jordan Hicks is at.
Agreed.
At least put some predictive outings
Predictability.
into him.
Oh,
Predictability.
welcome to
Cam
my
all the
world. Welcome to my world.
I've hit a new low. Cam just helped put me together here.
I bring everybody down.
He's put that in play because at least that keeps him warm. And if something does happen with Hicks, you don't have to ramp somebody else up or have a off schedule day.
I'm with that. By the way, I love your T-shirt.
Isn't
Thank
that
you.
I gotta
T-shirt
go.
badass?
Thank
You
you.
got to get going.
See you, Jimmy.
All right, Jimmy. Text line's blowing up. Jimmy, go do your thing, baby. Somebody did ask, why does Jimmy get there so early? Wait, let me see. Let me go down.
Yeah, why do I get there?
Jackie Bass, Jimmy, why do you need to get to the stadium so early? Are you cooking the hot dogs? Do you need should I let him know? You can let him know why he has ignorance is what that is.
Because you're assigned a certain amount of content,
Yes.
okay? And it's not like you can just walk in whenever you want and get interviews. Then once you have the sound, we call it, then you have to figure out how you're going to present it. And you have to let other people know. It's very complex. It's not the hardest job in the world, or else I wouldn't be able to do it, but it does take some work.
There it is.
That's all.
Come on, Jackie. You know better than that. All right, let's go to break. By the way, the 8 o'clock hour is sponsored by Mark's Appliance. Check them out at marksappliance.com. See you later, Jimmy. We're going to be back. We got a lot more to get into, man. I got a lot of notes down, baby. I had a lot of notes down yesterday that we didn't get into. That's when you know you're rocking and rolling. When I look at my old notes, I'm like, I'm going to use a couple. We didn't even talk about Tom Brady. We got things to talk about right here on Hot Take Central. I'm Cam. You're Maddie. You're Sir Nathaniel. You're Smitty. And this is Hot Take Central, 5 Fan and 5fan.com.